Thank you everyone again for joining. It's nice to be with you all. As we get started, feel free to, if you would like, put your name and organization in the chat. It's always nice to see kind of who's in the virtual room. And I'll start just by introducing myself. My name is Emily Wisniewski. I joined the Lumpkin Family Foundation about 3 months ago as the new program officer for our Chicago programs. Prior to this role, I spent over 7 years as a philanthropic advisor, supporting a range of institutional, corporate, and family foundation clients. And before that, I worked in youth development as a youth care worker at Mercy Home for Boys and Girls. Something about me in both of these roles and in life in general, I really value relationship building. It's really core to who I am. So if we haven't met yet, feel free to reach out anytime. I genuinely would love to connect. Again, just appreciate you all for taking the time out of your schedules to learn more about the foundation and our goals and priorities. This is specifically for the Land Health Community Chicago program this year. I'm going to move my slide forward. During this call, I'm going to do a couple of things. I'm going to provide kind of a high-level overview of the foundation's mission and programs. I'll provide more details about the goals and priorities for the Chicago program this year. I'll review the application process and important dates, and then we'll leave plenty of time for question and answer. You can feel free to add questions to the chat throughout or hold them and come off mute during the Q&A section, whatever feels best for you. Oops, I went backwards. Before I dive into all of that, let me introduce you to the rest of the team. We're a small but mighty team of 4, led by Heidi Dusak, our executive director. Christina Krost is our program officer for local programs in East Central Illinois. And Lindy Wheatley, who's on the call with us today, is our grants and operations manager. I'm your main contact for all Chicago-related work, but you can reach out to anyone on our team and we'll make sure the info gets to the right person. All right, let me give an overview of the Lumpkin Family Foundation. This might be familiar to many of you, but for those of you who are new to us, our mission is really to support people working together to build healthy, sustainable communities in East Central Illinois and across the US. We do this by supporting work that preserves and protects the natural environment, encourages physical activity and/or healthy eating, supports a strong local food economy, fosters collaboration among people and organizations, and promotes mental wellness by encouraging connections to nature. You can see our values on the slide and kind of how we approach this work, but I'll voice over just a few that I think are important or that are particularly important. The first is trusting relationships. We really strive to be open, transparent, and accountable in our relationships with both grant partners, peer funders, and those in the field. We see ourselves as a learning organization, so we really strive to learn from what we've done in the past and from what we're learning in real time alongside our partners. And we aim to employ just and equitable practices. So we want to advance equity through our work, both in terms of what we fund and how we fund. So this means that we are trying to support communities who have been most impacted by systemic inequity, and we strive to make our processes simple and transparent. So that's a little bit about who we are. In terms of kind of where we fund, the foundation has a number of grant programs. This includes giving in East Central Illinois. That's where the family has deep roots. And then obviously we have our grant making in Chicago as well, where some family members currently live. We also have one national food policy program that's focused on strengthening healthy food systems. Today, we're only talking about, like I said, the Land Health Community Chicago program, but I just wanted to let everyone know that we have kind of a broader grant region as well. So let's get into the Chicago work. This slide outlines kind of what we're looking to fund this year. Our focus is to support holistically healthy communities across Chicago. And to achieve that goal this year, we're really looking to support organizations that create interactive experiences for young people to connect with nature, eat well, and care for others and the planet. We obviously recognize that some communities have greater access to safe, healthy outdoor spaces and those types of experiences. And so we'll prioritize funding for organizations that advance these experiences in communities that have faced chronic underinvestment. You might hear some thunder happening in the background, so apologies for that. But if everyone else is in Chicago and the thunderstorm is coming for you, hope it's okay where you are. Okay, so that's our focus. In terms of what this looks like in practice, it might look like any of the priorities that are outlined on this screen. So it includes things like getting kids outside, engaging in physical activity, learning about the natural world. It includes programs that engage communities in growing healthy and sustainably produced foods, work to help develop a healthy local food system, and then multi-generational activities that advance community well-being through access to nature and healthy foods. I expect that there might be opportunities that fall across or adjacent to the priorities outlined here, but I'm highlighting these just as the types of programs that we're really most interested in funding this year. I should say that all this information is also on our website, and we're recording this, so we'll post it as well. So just in case you want to be able to reference it later. One more note on priorities. Some of you might remember that last year, in addition to project-based support, our program offered kind of a special community garden grant to support the building of new community gardens or maintenance of existing ones. We are still planning to provide that type of funding, but that will happen at a later time in early January. So if you have questions about that specifically, we can talk either at the end of this call or offline, and I can give more details about that specific initiative too. That's the focus. Let me talk a little bit about eligibility. So to be eligible for this funding, applicants must meet the criteria that's outlined on this slide. So you must be a 501c3 or a fiscally sponsored project. You must operate within Chicago or Chicago's south or west suburbs. And again, we're prioritizing support for organizations working in communities that have experienced sustained disinvestment. And then we're also looking for partners who have a strong kind of community-based leadership. In terms of the funding details, I just want to be transparent about what this program is. Our typical grant size will range from 10 to 30K, and we typically provide one-year grants. We'll provide general operating funding primarily to well-aligned organizations with budgets of $1 million or less, and we're more likely to provide project-specific funding to organizations with larger budgets. Again, there is some flexibility in that, so if you have questions about your specific case, we can talk about it, but that's kind of the general guidelines. Just a couple more things before I pause and open it up to questions. Application process outlined on this slide. To express interest in this funding opportunity, you will first submit an LOI in Foundant. That's our grants management system. This is just a really short pitch to tell us a bit about your proposed program or project. I will review all of these LOIs alongside our grant making committee, and we'll invite organizations that are aligned with our funding priorities to share more details through the full application. Again, we'll still aim to make this as streamlined as possible, but the idea is to use it to gather more information about your organization and proposed project. As needed, we might reach out after that step to request a virtual or in-person site visit, but not every applicant will receive this request. We usually use these types of site visits just as an opportunity to build relationships, learn more about your work, and it could happen at a point after you've received a grant as well. If you are a renewal grantee, so if you've received funding from us last year, you'll still follow this process, but with just a few tweaks. So you'll start by submitting the LOI as indicated here. There's a checkbox in that form to indicate that you are applying for renewal funding. And then if you're invited to the next full application step, we'll ask for you to submit your previous year's post-grant report early and then use that as your full application. That's the application process. This slide outlines important dates. Again, these are all listed on our website. But the first thing that you really need to be aware of is that our LOI will open next week on Monday, and it will be open until September 18th. The rest of the dates are outlined here just for your reference. Okay, I think that's everything that I wanted to share up front. I know that was a lot of information just kind of thrown at you, so I'm going to pause and just see if there are any questions. And I'm going to stop sharing my screen for now, just so that I can see everybody. Wendy, any questions in the chat? Oh, Sarah, go ahead.
how do you define youth? What are your age parameters?
It's a good question. I generally like up, we don't have a strict definition around it, but young people in general is fine. I think up to 25 is usually okay. We're also looking, like if you're working in programs that are working with youth, young people, and their families, like that also counts. But generally, I would say like 25 and under is youth. Mhm.
There was also a question about the funding area, specifically about DeKalb County. How far west would our organization consider?
Yeah, it's a good question. Heather, I might follow up with you directly. My initial instinct is that DeKalb might be a bit too far west, but I'll follow up with you directly and we can chat. And to answer more broadly that question, we don't have like a set defined geographic area. So it's a little bit, in general, we want to focus on Chicago. We will make some exceptions for some south and west suburbs. And so it's a little bit on a case by case basis. So Heather, we'll chat.
Can you review your points about renewals?
Yes. If you're applying for renewal funding, you will still submit an LOI using the same process as everybody else, and that information is also on the website. There's a checkbox for if you're submitting for renewal funding. And if we move you to the next phase after we've reviewed your LOI, instead of submitting a new application, we'll ask you to just submit your post-grant report for 2025. Let me know if there are other specific questions about that too. You can come off mute as well.
And is a land health community grant for programmatic or general operation funding?
We will mostly make programmatic funding. If you are an organization with a budget of less of $1 million or less, and you are well aligned with our priorities, we may consider you for general operations. But generally, we're project specific. Within project specific, we will still fund like staffing costs for that specific project. But it might not just be like organization wide general operations.
And just to remind everyone, we are recording the session and we will have it available for you to review on our website probably next week or as soon as I get it uploaded.
Thanks, Lindy. Monica, I see your question in the chat. Are you only funding youth organizations or projects with a primary audience of youth? We are funding projects with a primary audience of youth. It's not only youth serving organizations. And like I mentioned to Sarah, if you're funding young people and their families, like that counts as well. That's kind of where that multi-generational piece comes in. Allison, I see your question. I might follow up with you specifically so that I can understand a little bit more about what your work looks like, and we can just chat specifically about your question.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Any questions that I missed, Lindy?
I think that's all that's in the chat. Does anyone else have any questions popping to mind right now?
Yeah, Felicia.
I do, but it might take a little longer. So Emily, can I just reach out to you separately? It won't be a long conversation, but
Yeah, absolutely. And I'll share how to reach me as well. Felicia, I see you're off mute, and then Tiffany, I see your hand. So Felicia, why don't you go first?
Am I on mute still? I'm
No,
not
I
on
hear
mute,
you.
right? Okay. I'm sorry I missed the first 5 minutes and this went really, really fast. And
It
I
did go
can't wait
fast.
to really fast. So lesson, don't be late to grant Zoom meetings. Um, um, I think you were talking about the focus areas, youth. I got all of that. Health and wellness can be a part of this as well. And I'm sorry.
No
Maybe
worries. Why
I
don't I
know
pull
I
that?
could wait to get that, but I just kind of I'm processing already, you know.
Yeah, let me pull up the slide that has that on there
Okay.
just so you can see it, and I'll voice over it again really quickly.
Okay. Oh, you're amazing. Thank you.
Can you see this slide, everybody, again?
Yes. Yes. I came in the end of this. Okay, and I
Okay,
didn't get
great.
to it. Okay.
So the program focus overall is supporting experiences for young people to connect with nature, eat well, and care for others and the planet. Um, and then it looks like some of these opportunities that are on the slide. So, like you said, Felicia, getting kids outside, engaged in physical activity, learning about the natural world. Health and wellness and community well-being are a part of it, Felicia, but they have to have a connection to nature. So in previous years, we've had a slightly broader focus on health and wellness because of
Hmm.
kind of our funding limitations. We want to be really focused about like what we can support. And so having that component of like health and wellness through getting people outside, through connecting to nature, through eating well is kind of where we're landing. Allison, that might get to
Okay.
some of your question as well, but we can talk specifics for you too.
That does. And, you know, the first thing comes to mind is I am all about all of that, but I know there's kids on the south and west side that don't have a park right there. But still thinking that through, is that still when you're talking about inner city kids and kind of trying to get that experience, is that still okay? You don't have to be in the suburbs or I don't know,
Yeah,
far
absolutely.
south or
I think that's
west side.
definitely core to it. And, you know, we've had programs that are connecting either like building outdoor spaces and getting kids outside of them, kind of building partnerships with nearby parks to get kids outside, like that type of work. So, yeah, that's definitely part of it. Tiffany,
I'm in the same boat as Felicia, so I'm looking at the funding priorities slide. Is it any of the four? We are a South Side market, like a cooperative, for bringing fresh produce into a food desert.
mhm.
So for us, like we fit perfectly in the two. It's not targeted specifically for our youth. It really is intergenerational. So I'm trying to understand, is it you need to meet multiple of these funding priorities or no, any of the four?
Yeah, thanks for asking. Any of the four is great. If you happen to meet multiple, even better, but we don't necessarily expect that every single organization is going to meet each of these priorities. So if you're working in one of those really strongly, if you're meeting at the intersection of them, great. So yeah, Tiffany, you don't have to necessarily be meeting all of them in order to be eligible. Chris, I see your hand.
Yeah, I guess I'll ask my question now, Emily.
Okay.
Much following up on that, we're about a half $500,000 budget. We do align with recreation, health, and leadership. Within that, we do have a social emotional learning platform. My fear is I don't want to come across too watered down to you. So it's like we
Mhm.
cover a lot of those bases. So I guess the overall question is, we provide 500 recreational events throughout the year, and that's really our program. And within that is the social emotional learning. Am I, would you advise me just to pick one program within that you can sponsor? Like, would I have you go as an example? Would I go after social emotional learning that we have a PhD and all that who runs that, or am I better off providing the overall? You see what I'm saying? I don't want to come across too watered down and miss the mark.
Yeah,
So,
I appreciate that question. I would say, especially given your budget size, you probably could apply like generally. I would say, especially if the social emotional learning is directly connected to the recreational events, if you use those as a tool to advance social emotional learning, that's how I would probably suggest you apply and kind of tell that story. Um,
okay,
if you are looking for specific funding for your social emotional learning component, like you could apply for that specifically. But I think telling us the story of like what your organization's mission is and how all the components add up to it, probably, especially given your
okay,
organization size, is probably helpful.
okay. Like we had like 40 of our events, or 2-hour events in the first 30 minutes is a social emotional learning lesson. And those are throughout the year. Okay, that sounds like the way to go.
Okay. And happy
Thank you.
to talk more specifics, Chris, too, offline if that's helpful.
Thanks, Emily.
Zarina, I think I see your hand.
Yes, hi. I'm representing a group that does like distribution of healthy foods from local food system, but I guess there's like not a direct connection between youth and like, the sourcing of the food. So I'm just curious if that feels like it could still qualify.
Yeah, in general, I have two parts to this answer. One, even if youth aren't like the specific focus, but food gets to young people in some like young people and their families, like I think that counts.
Okay.
And is okay. I will say just a note on kind of emergency food in general. Specific like general operations for like traditional food pantries or meal delivery services falls a little bit out of scope of this program. Obviously, that's their critical ways that people are accessing food in their communities, but the core services of those are just not like the primary focus of this. However, we may fund emergency food providers who have programs that are related to our primary goals. So I think you were just mentioning, Zarina, that you are like partnering with like local farms or community gardens to
Mhm.
increase access to fresh produce and kind of supporting a healthy local food system. That type of work does, I think, like would be considered eligible. But programs that are just like a traditional food pantry and that type of emergency food assistance fall a little bit outside um, of our funding.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? Yeah, Chris, go ahead.
Sorry, one more. As a new grant request, do you recommend to new grant requesters to maybe start out low? Or like if the $30,000 fits, that request would fit our budget and more, would you still recommend, and we can make that case, would you still recommend a new requester maybe being less aggressive?
I would request what you need. We may come back to you and say we only have this much. Like, are you still able to do your program at this level? But my recommendation is to request what you need, and we'll have a conversation about what we can support within that.
Okay, thank you.
That goes for, yeah, for new organizations and returning organizations as well. Anything else from folks? Okay, while you're all thinking, I'll just offer questions might come up after this call, which is totally reasonable and understandable. A couple of ways that you can get in touch with me. One, I'm gonna have bi-weekly, or I'm gonna have office hours twice a week between now and the conclusion of the LOI period. So every Tuesday at 11 a.m. Let me make sure I'm telling you the right times before I just say it. Every Tuesday from 1 to 2 p.m. Glad I checked. And every Thursday from 11 a.m. to 12 p.m., I'm having office hours. There's a link for the Zoom on our website that you can find. So you can just show up to those. If none of those times, if those times don't work for you, you can also send me an email and we can find a time one-on-one to connect and answer questions, talk through like a specific opportunity you're thinking about, or just chat and say hi. So feel free to drop into any of those, reach out directly. I'm here to be a resource.
Can you say when the LOI is going to be open and closed one more
Yes,
time?
it will open on Monday, Monday, August 17th. And it at what time, Lindy? 9 a.m.? Sometime on Monday.
Okay, that's fine.
You're muted, but
Oh, sorry. I'm not exactly sure what time it will be open, but
great.
I'm sure by beginning of business, it will be.
Sometime
I
on
can
Monday.
check real quick.
And then it will close on September 18th, end of day. Well, I'm going to stay on the line for a little while longer. If anybody wants to stay on and ask direct questions, happy to discuss. Otherwise, thank you all so much for joining, and I look forward to hearing from you all soon.